talk about how to make search know your metadata. If you are following me, you know that I always say that metadata is the soul of search. It is really important and one of the most important things that you have to do when you want to improve and enhance your search. And I get this question very often: how to be sure that your content metadata gets into the search index? So how search will know your metadata? So first of all, let me show you some examples of where metadata is really important. Everything I'm showing today is in SharePoint, and everything I'm saying or showing or demonstrating today can be done in SharePoint and also in Office 365 the same way. So this one is SharePoint, and you can see that I have metadata on the right side of the screen, where I display the type, industry, text type, and location metadata for each result. So this way it's very easy and very simple to screen the results for the users. We also display metadata and actually use metadata on the refinement panel. It is document type, industry, taxation type, department, and below that you can find actually two more if you would scroll down, but that is also metadata. The information that we display, like the title of the document or the file type, that is also metadata. And actually even the query suggestions are based on metadata. So everything here is metadata. On the next screenshot, you can see something very similar. We display documents here with several data fields like last modified, modified by, and also the site title, like marketing or finance or whatever sites you have in your organization. Actually, this is again metadata. And also, if you want to display people, emails, phone numbers, department, role, physical location, office, or whatever, that is metadata again. So you get the point. Everything is metadata that you know about a person, about a document, about anything, and we have to work with that metadata. But the question is how it gets to search. And to answer that, first of all, let me show you what can be a metadata on the search UI, and this one is a out-of-the-box search user experience, and you can see, and I have already mentioned most of them, but refinement panel is metadata, results, and what we display on the results, everything is metadata. On the hover panel, we can also display metadata. In queries and query rules, we can use metadata, so everything is metadata. So the question is how to make sure that your metadata can be displayed and can be used here. So first of all, you definitely have metadata on your content. Your content metadata is actually the properties that you store in your content management system, which can be a SharePoint or can be an external content management system that you connect to search. The metadata can be explicit or implicit. Explicit metadata is, for example, those values that your users assign to the content, like project ID, product number, or product name, or customer address, or customer name, or invoice number, and those kind of things. And implicit metadata is metadata that is created by the system that mostly says what the content is and not what the content is about. Implicit metadata is, for example, last modified time, or created by, or file extension, or those kind of things. And the metadata on the content is always changed by the users and processes. And it is stored definitely with the content in a database, in SharePoint, in your CMS, it is stored with the content. The next step is what is called the CRUD properties in the search schema. And the CRUD properties are properties or metadata that is extracted or can be extracted from the documents and items during the crawl. And those are only definitions, property definitions. They don't store any value and also cannot be used directly. So when you crawl SharePoint content or a third-party CMS or a file share, you will end up having a lot of CRUD property in the search schema, which are property definitions that can be understood by the search engine, but definitely they cannot be used yet. If you want to use a property, you have to create a managed property, which is mapped to one or multiple CRUD properties. You have full control and ownership on the managed properties. You can create them, you can change them, you can change their settings and configuration. And those are the properties that can be used as refiners, can be used, displayed in the search results, can be used to sort or filter, can be used in the ranking model, can be used in query rules, etc., etc. So those are the ones that you have the control over and also that you can use in search. When you start working with metadata, I usually recommend to start thinking about what you need, what your users need. And in this metadata analysis table, you can see that the first column is the metadata requirement. In that column, usually we identify those properties that we need for search. So usually I recommend to start with mockups, user interface mockups, what your users want to see and how they want the results to be displayed, to be presented to them. And based on those mockups, it's quite easy to understand and quite easy to identify those properties, those metadata that you need. So those are the metadata that goes into the first column in this table. So for example, we need the type of document. We need the text type as a refiner. We want to display the office location. We want to display the people's picture or the name of the site where a document is stored. You name it. The second column is if the metadata is available or not in the source system. In most cases, those metadata is available, but in many cases, it is not available directly. Somehow we have to extract it, or we have to prepare it from the existing metadata fields, maybe it's combining them, maybe doing some operation on them. But definitely we have to identify if we have the metadata for that requirement in the first column or not. If we do have, it's easy. If not, we have to think about what to do. And we can also add some notes in the third column to each requirement for the planning and implementation to make everything easier. And after this mockup and this analysis is done, it's time to start working on the search schema design. The search schema is the part of the search index where we define all those metadata. And what we can design, what we can identify here, and what we have to define here is basically the name of the managed properties, the type of the managed property, the mapped one or more CRUD property. As I mentioned, the managed property is the one that you can use. The CRUD property is the one that can be extracted from the content. And then we have many different settings for each managed property, like if it's queryable, searchable, refinable, sortable. There are many settings that I don't want to go into deep details today, but you have to know that you have those options. And basically this table drives us to the implementation of search, so it makes possible to create the proper search schema and then to support the user interface design and configuration and customization as well. This is what I wanted to share with you today. If you enjoyed it, please follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and also here on YouTube. We create videos, webinars every week. The next one is going to be a live Q&A next Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to get your questions either by email in advance or during the live Q&A next Wednesday. Thank you very much and enjoy your day.